All right, so coming back to what I was talking about before, what I'd like to see those of you who have submitted your assignments, if your Turnitin percentages are still very high, you need to go back in and adjust those um, so that the count comes down. So I see Joanne Thomas here. Right, we were looking at Crystal Campbell. She has one here at 26%, then she has one at 25%, and
So
then
one of
she
the
has one at 19%.
my owners, I had submitted the second one as the
Your
second
final
group
draft.
assignment.
All right, then you have another one here at 14%, which is where you kind of got it down.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the one you submitted into the e-classroom.
Yes, sir.
All right, so my thinking is that, right, so see Renesia has gotten hers down to 7%. So if for some reason you still have a high percentage count that you didn't get it down, then I'd prefer, before I start to mark these things, that you go back in and try to carry the count down. What I can do is I can delete some of these higher ones here now for you guys, so that you can get the space to be able to make the make some newer submissions, because this is still open. Although it's going to say it's late, don't worry about that. Just try and get your count down, right? So see, Mr. Prashant Singh has 2 submissions at 15% each. I'm hoping that then he has one at 11. So I take it, Mr. Singh, you put in this draft here, draft 2. Okay. All right. So that's the only instruction I have, and that will for though you need to indicate to me who wants their submissions deleted at this point in time, so that you can get the room to be able to do some more submissions if you can, because I think I only allowed 5, up to about 5. So some of you may be past that already. To do some new submissions. And then Sullivan, not seeing any submissions from you at all. Rishlan?
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing a submission here in the Tillerton.
Okay, what? So I put it in later after class. I don't know why I.
Yeah, you should, because you've already submitted it. You submitted it into the final draft.
Oh, okay. Well, I will just, sir. But as a audit, how do I get to see the, like what you were talking about, right?
All right. So when you submit, so let me go back here. When you go to individual assignment, Turnitin, you click on, and then you go to submit paper up here.
Yeah, sir.
And then you just bring the file in here and submit that. You'd have to put in your title. Now you're gonna see it a little different for me. So let's say for you now, submission title, you put your name on it, kind of thing. One Sullivan, Rachel Ann, assignment 1, version whatever, and you submit it. And that way you should be able to get a report coming up in an hour or so that will tell you what your would tell you what
percentage you're at.
What percentage comparison or similarity you have. Now you will be able to go to the submission inbox like me. That's my duties, so I can see it in submissions across the board. All right.
Okay, I'll do that after class.
Yeah, because you see, what I need to know is what your similarity rating is indicating before I start marking.
Okay, I thought it was drafts. We were just checking, so that's my fault. Sorry about that.
When you submit, I'm allowing you multiple submissions. So you could have done a draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you come here, there are drafts available. It's just one file that you're putting in.
Okay.
Right? That's why it looks slightly different. So this is how it's going to look here. So you may need to have to edit your stuff because you do have an assignment here. Another element that I noticed is that I should say a good bit of you all followed the naming protocol for your files, but a good few of you didn't. And that kind of makes it a little more tricky for me. So like Miss Baldeo here, the file's name should have been your name followed by the title of the course code, CRN, and then the name of the course, like what you see the other people doing here. Don't know if you could make that out. That makes it easier for me to back up your documents and put them into the relevant files that they need to go to. So I don't know if some of you might want to go in and edit your file names before I start downloading them. All right. But the first thing you want to do is to make sure that your individuals are meeting the 15. Don't worry if the similarity is over 15 because of your title page and that kind of stuff. Just discount that amount that comes up under the college and look at what the remainder is. And in order to take it down, what you could use and you should be using is in-text citation. Everybody here is familiar with in-text citation, right? They know what I mean when I say that. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sounded very hesitant. Because the use of in-text citation and putting in some quoted sources of information will in fact be picked up. So those quotations will not be, they shouldn't be coming up in your similarities. All right, diagrams and images that you might have used from other sites, they have to be cited at the point of usage as well as in the citation list down below. Now remember, there's some marks assigned for that. Okay, so the next item is the journals, and I'm seeing some submissions here. Oops, how did that happen? Let's see what's going on there. All right. Okay, so generally with the journal, the citation element, similarity reports will tend to be less, easily less than 15% because you are doing a lot more of your own interpretive discussion of an article. So you should be citing the article. I'm seeing Joanne Thomas here is at 17%. Let's have a look and see what's causing that.
So that's in the assignment one. I wasn't sure how to delete it from the Turnitin for assignment one, so I just submitted it there. But that's assignment one.
Oh, okay. So this ought not to be here. All right, so do you want me to delete this from here?
Yes, thanks.
All right. But the 17% here, you see 13% is, this is what I'm talking about. Let me make it larger so you can see what I'm talking about. You see 13% is the college. That in reality means only 4% of your work seems to be similar across the board when you deduct the others. Somebody's trying to get in. Hi, Miss Ramdas. Hi, Amanda. All right. Okay, so with that being said, let's go back to the e-classroom now. Close this. So you're well within your submission points here with the 15%, but again, I'm not seeing the in-text citation being used, which Either you don't know what to do or you didn't do. Joanne, you understand in-text citation?
Kind of, sir.
Yeah, but why aren't you using it? I'm not seeing any of it here. Do you all remember that in the assignment that this in-text citation, I'm going to delete this here now, John. All right. Remember, citation is 10%, huh? And that is made up of two elements, the in-text citation and the and the the citation list. All right, this is the journal. Sorry, this is the wrong assignment. Across the board. All right. So as I'm not seeing a lot of submissions here, I probably need to ask what's happening with the journal. Now's not the time to stay quiet, guys.
Sir,
We have 5 submitted journals so far. And that those coincide with the people who submitted about in the first bit. All right. So how many of you all having difficulties finding an article? And there were some articles that I shared online with you guys. Did you all look at that?
yes, sir.
All right. Feel free to use those articles. You know, I mean, I tried to post things. Did I submit one in the chat about prices for NFM going up as a result of the change in importation prices for corn and soybeans?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good one for you all to utilize. Again, the same process. Try and make sure that your Turnitin similarity rating is, around 15%. All right, it could be a little more depending upon how much of it is going to be the college stuff. All right, once you see the stuff in the college, don't worry about that percentage. Deduct that, and that should give you a good idea where you are before you do a submission. But by the end of May, you all should be finished with that as well. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. All right. So before we get on to the journal, before we get on to the, all right, Nicole Allen is here. Hello, Miss Allen. So before we get on to the group work, the quizzes, everybody seems to be doing fairly well. I'm seeing lots of attempts, and the percentage values that I'm seeing are coming in. You all have all right, so you can see that this grub bar chart is telling me that 14 participants have gotten 10 between 9.5 and 10, 4 participants between 9 and 9.5, 2 participants 8 to 8.5. We have 4 here, and this is just, it's counting all of the attempts. It's not looking at the earlier, it's not distinguishing where you are in terms of your multiple attempts. All right. Okay. So how are we going with the quizzes and the content? Now there wasn't an error on this unit 7 here, in that it had closed already. So I just reopened it for anybody who didn't get to attempt Unit 7 quiz part 1. it was incorrectly set to close in May, May the 15th, but I changed it to the 20th along with all of the others. You have 3 attempts at this. Cancel that. Look at the attempts. And again, so far what I can see is people are doing relatively okay. But this is a harder, a bit trickier than the previous one. All right. And then, of course, the last one here is probably the trickiest, because this is the one with primarily a lot of diagrammatic work. And look at that. One person has between 8 to 8.5, and the rest is at 9.5 to 10, which means primarily everybody's getting 10. That's good. All right. So I take it that most people have gone through all of the content of the course. Yes? You've been able to go through the presentations and understand everything, or are there any areas that you feel you're kind of not understanding properly?
No, sir. All the content so far was easily understandable.
All right, good. So you notice I didn't put in a whole set of videos, but I stuck close to my presentations. But there are videos that can add value. Maybe later on I'll put it, but I kind of wanted you all to focus on the content, and you realize that the presentations always start with identifying the course outline and the learning outcomes, and then the presentation kind of goes through trying to explain the course outline content to you. And then the quiz is set up based on that. All right. So it stays within the parameters of the course itself. So far people seem to be doing well. Don't go panicking about. So I'll see if I put the today's session underneath here when it's available. Okay. Don't go panicking about how you're going. What I want you to do is to get your similarity reports down, meet the basic requirements for your assignments, so that your grades going forward will be okay. All right, now there should be no submissions just yet for group work, right? That's good. So let's talk about your group activities now. Anybody has any other, before we go to group stuff, anybody has any questions about anything else that they want me to tackle with you now? All right, silence is consent. So let's go to your group activities, and let's identify the groups here now. So the first thing that I want to do is something that I was chatting with Mr. Mansing about. Stefan had, his group had asked whether or not to do an introduction and a conclusion, correct, Mr. Mansing?
Yes, sir.
Right, and I felt that it may have been understood in any assignment there's usually an introduction and a conclusion, but to be on the safe side, although it's not fully stated, it is implied that, as with any assignment, you start off with a general introduction, and for the group assessment, your introduction would include your demographics of the country and whatnot. The conclusion would be sort of like rounding statements overall about the whole project and the country that you're looking at, and that type of stuff. That could go into a nice general conclusion. Each question would be answered specifically in their various sections as you go through the content or your write-ups. Now, let's start to go through with group by group. So let's start to talk to the Dubai group. That is Buchanan, I should say, or Asia, Ali, Baldev, Puran, Thomas, and Alexander. Alexander isn't here, but I should hear from the others. How are we going, guys, and what are we up to? How are things progressing?
Well, sir, I honestly was not focusing on the group assignment as I should because I had other schoolwork to finish.
All right.
So,
Who's speaking? Identify yourself.
Alicia Bukar.
All right, okay. Uh, so you were focused on other things. All right.
Yeah, so we never really get to meet as a group, but as moving forward, we'll start to meet together. Um, we was kind of having trouble with getting some of the information in a way.
What area of information were you having trouble with?
I don't know it offhand, but I know some of the advantages due to the pandemic and stuff we was getting problems with.
Some of the positive impacts on how COVID would have.
You might not find that out. That's in terms of this last question here. Two
Yeah.
positive, two negative impacts of the COVID-19 virus. Now that's actually something you have to think about. Well, it needs reading a bit more into their current situation and what's happening in their country at this point in time. In a lot of instances, some of the positivity things are, looking for a silver lining in a dark cloud. So you gotta be kind of careful there with that. All right, but the thing I'm trying to get you guys to do is to don't wait until the last minute. Now, it seems to be that you're already kind of doing that. And that's dangerous because other pressures are going to come up with other things that are going to cause you all to have to put abnormal amount of pressure on yourselves to be able to get that sorted out. So I would suggest that you don't wait too much longer because your presentation is not too far away. Your presentation is actually on the 8th of June, not so? Is that not the case? Yep, here it is, 8th of June. Project presentation. Now you're not submitting the group project online until you're finished with your presentation. Now remember there are two aspects to that. If you go to the e-classroom, there is the group project Turnitin, the group project final, and then I have to put in another portal here for you all to submit your group presentation file, which is the PowerPoint. I need that as well. But you're not going to submit these. Well, you could be doing Turnitin reports on your thing early o'clock. So like all now, so if you've done some drafts and whatnot, you're gonna put up a draft and just check and see where you are with your citation requirements. But you're not going to load your final drafts until after your presentation. And the reason for that is because I'd like to be able to see your presentations and instruct you all in relation to whether or not there's some changes or adjustments that should be made, to try and give you a better chance at scoring better. That sounds fair.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the idea is you should be working on your presentation, your group project as well. So do not wait until the last minute to get this thing done. All right. So Miss Buchanan, what about Ali? Asia Ali, your
So I have another question.
who's this?
Alicia still.
Alicia.
So we could meet as a group with you to kind of discuss our answers to see if we're going in the right direction.
You should first meet with each other before you start to include me, because remember you all have to do the work, and not me. I mean, I can advise, but if you all are running into sticky areas, then yeah, sure, not a problem that we could meet and stuff. The only problem with that is coordinating a time, because remember I'm teaching other classes on different evenings. So therein lies a bit of a challenge. But yes, I am quite willing to work with you all to give you all some guidance individually or group wise. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Did you want to meet now? But you already haven't done anything yet to meet. Not so, Alicia?
So what you say?
I said, did you want to meet now, today, this evening?
So well, I don't think we might be able to meet today because we didn't really arrange it. I wanted to ask you first.
All right, no problem. But you have to get some work done first, huh, before you can call a meeting. All right, let me go to the next group. France. That's Johnson, Williams, Alain, Sullivan, and Ramdas, and I think all of them are here. Let me hear what's going on with you guys.
Yes, sir. So we also we're kind of a bit lacking on the group work, but tomorrow we are going to have a group meeting to continue working.
All right, now when I finish with you all, because I don't have much more to do with you all right now, you all could use the rest of the class time that was allocated tonight to go ahead and meet. I would have thought that all those days that I wasn't calling sessions, you all would have utilized those time frames that you would have normally put aside for class to meet. That's to me, that's a practical use of the time. Anyway, so how far in have you all gotten with your work with the France information? You all at least got all the data that you all needed? Shared out the questions for people to do their individual research and whatnot?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do not wait much longer. Start. Any drafts at all?
Not as yet, sir.
Okay. I know this is just you answering. Who else is in your group? They're not available?
Sir.
Probably don't yet, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're agreeing with
Yes, sir. Tomorrow, hopefully we have a meeting if all goes well tomorrow, so we'll take it further from there.
All right, okay, no worries. Okay, so Switzerland, well, how are you all progressing? That'll be Mirage. Well, Miss Afat is not here. Ankai, McIntyre, I don't think she's here, and Romaine, I didn't see Romaine come into the class yet. So Maharaj and Angai, Angelina.
Hi, sir. I'll be speaking on behalf of my group because Karishma's mic is not working and the other members are
Conveniently, she's always conveniently never could talk in my class. I don't know.
Yes. I'm so sorry that her mic isn't working, but questions have begun being answered and the presentation theme has already been picked out, layout, and we just need to get the content in. But because some of the members were busy working behind other assignments for other classes, we are waiting for their responses to then begin adding stuff to the presentation.
All right, I would suggest that you all start lighting some fires and trying to get them to. Yes, they have other assignments, but at the same time, they need to give all their assignments some attention.
Yes.
Right?
Sir.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Brazil group. That's Campbell, Rose, Thompson, Lachman, and Danny Ram. Let's hear you guys.
Hi, good night, everyone. For our group so far, we haven't really come together to assemble the questions, the answers that we have to put together. But I'm hoping soon, probably from tonight, we can have a start to further,
Well, I'm willing to let you all use this meeting forum if all of you all are here. Danny Ram's not here. I can just leave the classroom open for you all to use it if you want to be able to meet online as people are here already. I'm okay with that. But you all can, you can host your own meetings, right? On this
Yes,
same.
sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Again, my same warning as with everybody else. Do not wait until the last minute, please. All right. Okay, and that leaves us finally with Guyana. That's Mansing, Aliana, Ali, Tashona Jones, Brittany Sewer. Well, Vandenberg Hill is no longer. I would get rid of him from that grouping.
Yeah.
Because I spoke to him before, and I don't know what the problem was. Well, I know what the problem is, but I can't really talk about it. All right, so Mr. Singh, how are you all going?
Well, so we're going good. No, so we have everything organized and thing regardless. So, I mean, we're not having regular meetings, but everybody still getting the work done, and nobody really coming up with any issues or anything so much. So other than that, we're good.
All right, so by the end of this week to next week, you all should have a draft done. You remember you have to write up the project first before you extract the presentation. All
Yeah.
right. So by next week, you all should have a first draft or second draft done already. And this goes to all the groups, huh? For the same reason that you need to write the entire project first before you can extract from that the presentation. The presentation is a pullout. During your presentation, I'm looking for about a 20-25 minute presentation where you answer all the questions and you give us basically an overview of what your findings of your research have been. And again, you have to answer each of the main questions in your group in your presentation. So you start off with what are the economic systems that run the particular countries and the benefits generally that they experience. Now again, remember, it's not the generic benefits that you see everybody listed in the economics text, but the benefits and drawbacks in that particular country. So everything has to be related to the country. The same thing here. The economic allocation of resources via the economic system. How does it impact upon their demand decisions and supply decisions? You have to give two examples on supply, provide two examples of its impact on supply demand decisions and examples on supply decisions. So again, it's specific to the country. Then what is the dominant type of firms that exist in this country, and provide two examples per type. That means if there's more than one dominant type, so you might find that there's a preponderance of limited liability companies, or you might have a lot of sole traders. And what you want to do is to find some examples from the country of those things. What might be nice, especially if you can find their websites and get their logo names and that kind of stuff, that will help to give it some prettiness for the presentation. And of course, you could put those things into your project as well. You just have, as with the presentation, you have to cite your sources. That's all. Dominant market structures. Again, that'll be relative to the country, and you may have dominant market structures in different industries. So when you start to look at the various industries that make up the country, so they may have a tourism industry, they may have a agricultural industry. What you want to look at is in those major industries, choose the main ones, what is the dominant market structure. So that will be determined whether or not there's only one company working or operating in that market structure. That gives it the monopoly structure, as opposed to if there's a few firms, which is oligopoly, as opposed to lots and lots of firms, which is monopolistic. Now, some, you might get the idea that there may be some countries that state that they have a perfect market, but honestly, perfect markets don't exist in the real world. So the closest thing to the perfect market is the monopolistic market, where you have lots of competition that's occurring in there. So again, you're answering each of these questions specifically to the country in hand. So you don't have to come and tell me what all the market structures are, what all the types of firms are, that kind of stuff in your assignment. Focus on answering the question. And then, of course, describe the impact that the market structure has on output and prices and profitability. That's basically the unit 7 part, unit 7, where you look at how it impacts upon price determination and profit levels and price levels. So in the monopolistic market, or the monopoly market, I should say, profitability tends to be high and prices tend to be high because output is low because of the monopoly situation. Whereas in the monopolistic market, the member prices tend to be much lower, profitability tends to be more marginal, and output tends to be large because you have a large number of competitors working in that company, on that market. All right. And of course, providing 2 examples of its impact on consumers and 2 examples impact on producers. So producers, for example, you'll be looking at their profitability issues and their pricing issues. Whereas when you're looking at consumers and output issues, for consumers, you could look at prices and competition, because more competition drives prices downwards, and therefore they benefit from lower costs. And of course, the basic thing there that we talked about with question 6 is kind of putting yourself in the country that you're talking about, and looking at how is the population benefiting from the current COVID situation, and how are they being affected negatively. Now, you can make that comparison by looking at our own experience with it and making a comparison to their experience with it, and see where it might be different, how they're dealing with their situations differently than we are, and how they're being able to manage their circumstances better. So Guyana, I mean, I'm ashamed to say I'm not paying attention a lot to the Guyanese experience. France started off at a really bad place, because remember, they were one of the first, in the first wave, they were hit pretty badly. Dubai, I didn't pay a lot of attention, and Brazil was really hard hit. In fact, so much so that we have the Brazilian variant coming out as a result of the initial response that they had, where the president of that country just totally ignored the situation, and it just got kind of weird in that circumstance. And Switzerland, I don't know if Switzerland had gone the route of not following or follow. I don't remember. I don't remember Switzerland coming up in any discussions. So I suspect that their experience might have been a little different, and therefore they may have had a different experience. So that's where you're going to have to spend some time looking at their experiences with those things to be able to answer that last question. So it's not something that you're going to find in a textbook, but you're going to have to do some research in terms of the information that is available to you. All right. I think the World WHO can provide some data on each country and their experience with the thing. So you could start with things like that, giving it a little introduction as to what the number of cases were like in each country, what they were responding, what's their level of vaccination at this point in time, and what was the government's response. So those kind of things, you could write a little paragraph that kind of precursors your responses in terms of the positive and negatives. That might help in terms of you being able to tease out a positive and negative, or a couple positives and negatives. That makes sense to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
so it means that it's not purely economic in the nature of the research that you're going to be attempting there, but you'd realize that it has an economic impact on the country depending upon how well they were able to navigate through the COVID pandemic since since the beginning of last year, 2020. All right. Any other queries or questions? Clarification stuff that you all want to get to? No? All right, I'm going to stop the recording now.